I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, their elders past, present and emerging.
So if a region is working collaboratively together, it is only a really good example and a really good opportunity to make your region shine. So I think tapping into your regional associations is just a no-brainer.
This is Over a Glass. I'm Shanteh Wale.
Jenna Vaughan is the president and founder of EmpowHER. She is a marketing specialist and works across a great number of projects in the wine sector. Today, she represents Rootlings, a wine industry youth network funded by Wine Australia and Australian Society of Viticulture and Oenology. This is a community that helps bridge the gap for young talent in the wine industry. Sup, Jenna? It's awesome to have you join me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honoured to be on the pod today.
Well, we've had lots of wonderful chats and they've covered a whole range of things, but I'm so excited to learn a bit more. Every time I interview someone, I come away with a little bit, snippet of information, a little gem that makes me feel more connected to them. So I'm excited to learn a bit more about you. Let's go back a ways. Let's find out, how did you find yourself kind of in marketing? How did you find yourself tied up in the wine game? How did it all unfold for you?
Well, I guess I've always had an interest in the wine industry. I started in hospitality, worked in hospitality ever since I was 15 and up. Did a degree at UTS with public communications, advertising and PR. And let me tell you, the PR world in Sydney is something that is quite brutal. So I didn't quite go into that field. I just stayed in hospitality for the love of it. I love people. I love being around people. And then my husband and I were living in Sydney. We're like, we can't afford Sydney anymore. So literally put our budget into a map and Cessnock came up where you could still afford houses around $400,000. And we're like, let's just make the move, We can work in hospitality. We can work in retail. We can do whatever we want to do. Let's just make the move and, not be slave to the mortgage game. So how I actually got into the wine industry was pure luck and a bit of coincidence. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and then went for a job at a winery here in the Hunter, and then got that job and just fell in love with the wine industry and in love with the world of wine. And I think that's what keeps us in here, is the community, the connection, and the constant desire to learn. So yeah, I was in a wine club cellar door role for a little bit, and then moved to another winery. Stayed in wine club and did marketing as well, because this was kind of the rise of social media where wineries really wanted to connect with new audiences. And then COVID hit. So that was the only way really that you could connect with people. So yeah, social media was such an organic and natural alignment to connecting with community beyond people that could visit the cellar door or visit the winery. And then just have slowly moved throughout some different roles. So I've got quite a broad range of roles now, but I think it's been really good that I can flex kind of some of my skill set, some of that being hospitality and listening to what the customers want or listening to what the industry want, and then being able to effectively communicate that as well. So I'm a little bit of a mixture of things, but I think it's really exciting and it keeps my brain fresh for sure.
I love somebody that's a mix of things. I think the better the mix, the better. But tell me, when you kind of, you're in Cessnock, there's wineries around the place, you walk in, that your background's in marketing. Is it like, okay, it's just one product or another? Or did you feel intimidated by the kind of whole wine, being in a winery, working in the cellar door? Or did you kind of just say, I know hospo, I know marketing, I can do this?
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of both, because obviously you need the knowledge there to effectively sell your product and understand. But I mean, when you work in a cellar door that has a winery connected to it, once you see vintage and harvest come in, it really connects the dots. But I think and I find this in all the roles that I've had, no matter whether you come with all the knowledge possible or a little knowledge, but you're keen to sink your teeth in, that's the key to driving, successful innovations. Like with some of the projects I've worked on, sometimes you do need the fresh eyes to say, but why are we doing it this way? Couldn't we do it the other way? And I think that sometimes works really well I think that sometimes works as a benefit, because you are coming in with the fresh perspective and you're not clouded by, extensive knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I suppose COVID, like you said, again, did that for us in terms of we all kind of were like, well, have we just been doing this the same way? Can we do things a little bit differently? Why don't we turn things on its head? And I think anybody throwing those questions into any business is probably really useful, whether you say, no, we keep it like this, it's worked for us in the past, or you do just embrace completely new ways of doing things. You're also a mother. You're also a greyhound rescuer. So I don't know how you manage to do so many things. So tell me about, as somebody that kind of wears many hats, how do you manage all of it day to day? Because not necessarily all of your, and I'm asking this for my own personal gain as well. But, when something comes in, you've got emails, not all of your jobs are talking to on it. How do you manage all of that information and all the different projects going on?
Look, it's a real challenging one, and I can't say that I've actively nailed it, but I think the schedule of my timeline is that there's the activations that happen certain time of the year. So for the Len Evans tutorial, it's always in November. So I know to clear my schedule around November. And then for Rootlings Network really kicks off around May and June. And then for Hunter Empower, which is centered around International Women's Day, it's May as well. But I think I've just got one of those brains that needs to constantly be stimulated. And sometimes there is way too much stimulation. But I'm really lucky. Like, my husband's a wonderful parent. He's a wonderful supporter. And I tell you what, especially because we've just had a couple of days off over Easter, we value downtime a lot. Like, we will spend weekends just at home with the kids doing minimal things. So I think trying to find that balance, I can't say I've perfected it. I don't know if I'll ever perfect it. And burnout is real, but just recognizing that downtime truly is downtime and making sure that I try and keep my weekends as clear as possible to ensure that family comes first, because you miss out on all the little things, and I don't want to miss out on the little things.
Absolutely. That's where all the joy is, isn't it? So let's talk about Rootlings. Tell me a little bit about how that all came about. Tell me a little bit how beautiful Maggie Jarrett had that wonderful brainwave and how it's kind of unfolded.
And I think the inception and the original concept of the idea is such a phenomenal use of that innovation, and sometimes coming in with a little bit of knowledge, but having an idea, seeing how you can change, the trajectory of the industry and the trajectory of other people in the industry is so fascinating. So Maggie Jarrett is out of Orange, and her family have Seesaw Wines, but she went off and did an environmental degree and then came back into the wine industry through a viticulture role, viticulture development officer role at the New South Wales DPIRD. And when she was in that role, she realised that she was quite lonely. There wasn't a lot of young people around her that she could lean on and just have a conversation with, catch up at the pub and have a beer with, and just kind of, network and communicate and bounce ideas off. So she was like, I'm sure I can figure out how to make this role and this industry a little bit less lonely for me and for other people around me. So then she had the idea of creating a network that was non-competitive. Anyone could join. You just had to be 35 and under and working in the Australian wine industry. So she took that idea, went to Wine Australia with that and said, hey, can I have some funding to activate this network? And they were like, what a fantastic idea. We'll do the pilot program for 3 years, see how it goes, and then we'll see if we can continue funding the project. And because she was so successful in getting it off the ground in New South Wales by travelling around doing like smaller networking events in different regions, and then also doing the larger New South Wales Rootlings conference in Orange that year, Wine Australia saw the importance of having young people connected to the industry, and then the national project was realised.
So incredible. And Maggie's such a beautiful human. And I love that, she could have just created a WhatsApp group or she could have gone, let me change the future for lots of other people. I just think that says so much about Justin and Maggie, just amazing. But tell me, so what does Rootlings offer? I mean, other than a place where you can connect in physical terms, scholarships, ASVO, Next Gen, like tell me some of the initiatives that are involved.
Yeah, all right. So each state has an allocated funding budget, which then the state champions, so we have state champions across the country that are tasked with, using this funding to continue to create an empowered network and a community. So it kind of differs in different states about what they want to do. So New South Wales has decided to use their entire funding to have the conference, go big or go home, which is what they say there. So in Tasmania, for example, the field day activation was to have 20 young people travel around and visit different sites and learn together. And then they've just announced that they're doing a WSET partial scholarship. So it can look quite different from each state, depending on what each state needs. But then there's always these gems, like, right, where the state champions or the Rootlings in region have activated events that haven't cost anything but just inspire community. So, for example, Western Australia do face wine. So they got together in person, swapped a bunch of wines, and then went back to their homes. And then they'll jump on every month, open that wine, and have another young person tell you about that wine, about the viticulture. And it's just a really good way to connect, as well as, learning a little bit more. So, yeah. The Rootlings can fund activations and scholarships and opportunities, but it's also up to the young people to come ahead with an idea and see that activated, just kind of like Maggie did. You know what I mean? We want to empower this community of young people to be, creative. Cut that bit out, but yeah. Hopefully that's not too long. I'm sorry. I know that it's...
Oh, not at all. Not at all. It's so incredible because you often see things like this, an idea, but then to get it off the ground, to see it develop further, but then to see how it, each state kind of utilizes and go, you know what, that's not going to work for us because New South Wales is a very different, landscape to WA, for example, so it does make sense to kind of treat each state individually and to see what works. And look, I'm sure that, people borrow ideas from each other. South Australia might do something and somebody else is like, hey, that was a really cool idea. I love the idea of face wine. Did I say right? But I think that's cool. And I think, from my background as a SOM, it was often junkets and trips that you went on where you spent 2 or 3 days with someone where you really got to know them. But unfortunately, we can't just be doing that for everybody. And it's great to be thinking about, because that might be your new best friend, or that might be the person you call up when you really need help, or when something goes wrong, or you need a mentor, or all of those things. I mean, connecting to each other is so important. Tell me a little bit about the relationships you've developed over the course of your time in the wine industry and what they've led to.
I guess so many relationships as well, and like from people from all different facets of life. And I think that's why wine industry is so exciting, because there's such a diverse range of individuals. And there was an article recently about leadership and, leadership, where's the leadership in the wine industry? And it made me reflect that like leadership and mentorship, it's not always loud and it's not always showy. Sometimes it is a real quiet leadership of showing up or putting people's names in rooms that they've not yet been in. So I've been really lucky that my name's been considered in a lot of rooms that I necessarily wouldn't have had a seat at the table for. So I try, it's a real personal value of mine to make sure I try and bring that along for the next generation. So I'm just going to bit side note it, but so we see this amongst associations and boards and whatnot, is that we don't have a feeder of a leadership pipeline. We don't have talent coming up the pipeline. It seems to be the same board members which continue to serve, but we don't have any fresh ideas. So another aspect of the Rootlings network is to work with regional and state associations to have a youth advisor or a youth ambassador position that sits beside the board, because often constitutions can't allow an additional board member. But just so young people get the opportunity to see what happens in board meetings, see what decisions are made, and then also the opportunity as it's some feedback as well as a learning opportunity. So we've seen that activated. It's so cool, right? And then all of a sudden you then have, the opportunity for young people to be on boards across the country, and then they're getting this leadership experience, and then how much fresher new ideas and innovations that can come from that. So currently this is activated in the Hunter Valley, and it's also activated in the Clare Valley. But I hope by the end of this year we'll see a couple more regional and state associations take that on board. I know we talked about Dan Sims, who's been a massive advocate and champion of the network, but they're hoping to also put something in for Wine Victoria. So it works together and collaboratively in so many wonderful ways.
I think that's so good. And I love what you said about leadership, in that it can work in lots of different ways. I love the idea of just mentioning somebody's name, putting someone forward, whether it even be just recognition of someone's great work. And like you said, maybe it's just turning up. Maybe it's just that person that tries to send on emails or creates an email group from someone to kind of say, hey, you need to talk to this person. Maybe it's just that person that connects people. But there's so many ways that we can give back. But like you said, where are we if we don't have the younger generation stepping forward? And like you said, they might be able to change huge decision makings down the line that we may never have thought of. And you don't want that apex of just a few people at the very top there with all the ideas and there's nowhere to go. I think that opportunity for young people to go, hey, where else can I go? I've really nailed this job or I'm doing well, but I want to see myself doing more. And I think that's really, really cool. What a wonderful initiative. And I think it's doing some really great things for the industry. I do want to talk a little bit of marketing because you are a marketing queen. Tell me a little bit let's talk a little bit about where marketing's at the moment and what's some of the stigma around marketing. Someone's once said to me, when budgets get cut, marketing's the first thing to go. Is that something that you see in the wine industry? And tell us why it's so important to invest in good marketing.
Well, absolutely. Marketing budgets are getting tighter and tighter. But I've always thought that the best innovations come from low or minimal budgets. It really creates opportunity and innovation. So I think about some, key wine brands, iconic wine brands. Like you think about Wendouree, doesn't have a website, you get your letter in the mail and if you don't buy the wine, you miss out. So there are some really old school things that the wine industry's done that we should invigorate. So I don't necessarily think large budgets mean absolute cut through. I also think about, the Shaw and Smith Yum Cha series, which I think is just fascinating and just what a good example of minimal budget, but maximum impact over time. And I'm sure you got to go to one, over your time. But I asked, Michael Hill-Smith, where did that come from? He was like, we only had a couple $1,000s. So how do you get everyone together to show them the wine for, a minimal input, but maximum output and get them to understand your brand? And it was through Yum Cha. And I think that is so fascinating that, sometimes you don't need unlimited budget. You just need unlimited creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just gone gangbusters. It's like, I remember I went to many of them and I was always so grateful to be there, but it was the one where you knew everyone was going to turn up. It was the one where you knew that you were going to see somebody that you wouldn't get to see later in the year. It's a good time. It's absolutely damn delicious. First of all, everyone's looking forward to it. But it's so collaborative. It's just like, the whole of estates industry in one room. And it's such a good time as well, and you're like, yeah, I'll buy the wine, fine, no problem. But let me see you and let me get hugs. And it's such a positive, wonderful kind of way to get your people talking about your wine, but also buying them, but also, connecting, like you said.
And I think, this is echoed a lot, but we have a fun product. We work in a fun industry. We're not selling shoes. We're not selling insurance. We're selling a really fun product. And I think somewhere along the way, we forgot about the fun that we're meant to have with it. So sometimes, it is about, creating social media that's a little bit unhinged, a little bit chaotic, but you'll find the right target audience and you'll find the right people. For the brand I work with, Julius Wines, we like to have a lot of fun across the entirety of our marketing because it does stand out and it is authentic to our brand. I don't see that necessarily translating to some, traditional brands, and that's okay as well. But you do have your target audience, and I think we should be having fun because wine is fun at the end of the day. Yes, it's serious. Yes, we can, there's a lot of work that goes into the bottle, but at the end of the day, it's about sharing that story, sharing that connection, and sharing that human element. So can we just have some fun?
Oh my God, you said it so well, Jenna. Absolutely. I actually know a few people in marketing that have gone away from the wine industry and then come back and been like, oh, I miss the wine and I miss the people because they know how to have fun, I think, to let their hair down a little bit, but always maybe not to take it all so seriously. So that's really nice to hear. I'm like, yes, come on back to us, like the dark side. But tell me in terms of, back in the day, and I'm asking this as somebody that thinking about the audience and thinking about the listeners that tune in, so it used to be all about social media. That was the number one game. Is that still the case, or is marketing need to be spread in terms in lots of different eggs in different baskets?
Yeah, absolutely. Like social media is not your be all and your end all. It is one element of a larger marketing mix. And most, if depending on whether your wine brand has a cellar door or not, you really need your digital ecosystem to be really tight, really clean, and really consistent. So that includes obviously your website as your digital home, your emailing lists, your organic and paid social media, your Google ads, your Google business review, your SEO, like all of these details. And I think with the rise of AI and chat and search, you really need to be switched on to that because people are looking, what are the best wineries to visit when I'm in the Hunter Valley? That's how they're asking ChatGTP that. And that's the information that needs to come back. But at the end of the day, like if you do the hand sell and getting people aligned with your brand, whether that be in a market sense, whether that be at a tasting event, whether that be at a cellar door, is so important because they're the stories that create the brand ambassadors and can then go on to be, tell their friends about your brand as well. So that human connection is so important, but you do need a larger digital marketing ecosystem, which does encompass both traditional media as well. So yeah, the ecosystem's just getting bigger and wider and it can be really confusing. But I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to your brand and what's important for your brand. And so if you're a small business, like some of the Rootlings that have started up their own wine brands, you're not going to invest in massive websites or you might not get to have your own tasting room, but you need to be at every single market that you can be, selling your wine and retaining all of your revenue for yourself, and then maybe doing wholesale there or maybe, thinking about other opportunities. But that revenue needs to stay in your pocket, so you need to be out there selling it.
Turning up, as Dan Sims always says, turn up. Okay, so if you are a smaller brand, I know a few people that perhaps are growers and they've just done their first bottling and they only have one wine, or like you said, a new startup, and they have questions of kind of how to do this. Is there a platform they can go to without necessarily having to hire someone like yourself, which has so much knowledge? And yes, they should hire you. They may not have the budget. What's a place they can go to ask some of these questions?
Oh, what a great question. I would say, obviously, the Rootlings network is a really good place to start. So we have a YouTube channel of all the past webinars that we've done. And as long as I've remembered to press record, it's on there. So for example, that's the challenging part of it all. So for example, we had Scott Carslake, that is Voice Design, do a branding and labels webinar recently. So that's up there. We've also got Happy Hour with Dan Sims coming up. So he's your industry icon to get in front of and ask the questions. So they're really good existing channels that you can get a lot of information out of. There's also, associations like the Wine Communicators of Australia, which are running webinars constantly as well. But then also I would go, especially if you're in region, I would go and talk to your regional association about what resources they have or what connections do they have in region as well. Because let's be honest, you have your own, wine brand as a single entity, but we've also got regional branding, which is so important for this industry. So if a region is working collaboratively together, it is only a really good example and a really good opportunity to make your region shine. So I think tapping into your regional associations is just a no-brainer because they might be able to connect you with someone and, you can create, a mentorship or opportunities for collaboration.
And you're so right about regionality. And the Hunter is probably one of the most beautiful examples of that. The other day I saw, a little social media post just about, all the new bottled Semillon and everybody showing up. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if it has a name for it, but everybody just putting
the Semillon tasting,
newly bottled Semillons, or everybody turning up, chucking their bottles. And I just thought this is so wonderful because I don't know how many regions in the world would do something like that, just put their newly bottled stuff on the table, letting you judge it, taste it, make notes, and then sit down and discuss it. And I thought, what a wonderful way to look at different brand style, but also site expression and how they evolve in the bottle, seeing them really newly bottled. It's just such a collaborative, wonderful example of exactly what you're talking about, is about region, about that you are connected other than yourself and your brand to a whole group of people. And if you grow together, you do better.
It is so true. You have a stronger brand story. You have a stronger story altogether. And you all have databases that you can lean on together to make your message shown. So in wine, we're super lucky just to have that extra level of opportunity.
That's so cool. Now, if people want to get involved in Rootlings, I'll put the website down in the show notes under the podcast. But tell me, what did they do if they want to get involved? Do they just sign up? How does that all work?
That's it. So literally, it's a non-competitive program, which I think is important to note. You know, we've got Future Leaders, which is a highly competitive program through Wine Australia. We've got Next Crop, which again is a competitive program. But Rootlings is literally existing to be non-competitive. Anyone can join as long as you work in the Australian wine industry or are studying to be in the Australian wine industry. So you just sign up on the website. But I'd also like to encourage, business owners or management or leaders with young people in their team to also sign up so you can kind of see what activations and what activities are happening. So then you can say, tap the person on the shoulder, be like, hey, I actually want to send you to this, or I've seen this opportunity that you should get involved in. It's actually really important that we have those people in the mix and advocating for their younger people. So yeah, even if doesn't matter what age you are, if you see value in the network, I would 100% ask you to sign up just so you can keep in contact and see those emails and then be able to, tap the young people on the shoulder and say, this is a really good opportunity. I think you should put yourself forward for it.
Yeah, that's so good to hear because like an old fart like myself who is not 35 and under, it's nice to know that somebody can just keep in track and like you said, and then see what else is out there. So this is not just for winemakers or viticulturists, it's for anyone in the wine sector.
Absolutely anyone in the industry. And there's, 35 different occupations that you could potentially be, finance or sales or hospo or a som or whatever. So it really is all encompassing. And because the network is for young people by young people, we'll try, if you've got an idea and say you want to talk to someone for a happy hour or you want to have a webinar about something, you just email me directly and I'll make that happen as well. So I think that's really important. I also just wanted to bring up that scholarship opportunities often get sent to, the boss or the manager and they're too busy or they just don't see it as an opportunity. So it gets deleted. So at least with the Rootlings network, we've got young people's emails directly. So we've found a lot of uptake for our scholarships. So we've had people attend the Australia-China immersion just purely because they were signed up on the Rootlings network. There's been at the recent Australian Wine Industry Technical Conference, we were able to support 4 young people to do that. We've got the Institute of Masters of Wine Symposium coming up in Adelaide. So we're also helping support through Wine Australia. I think it's 10 scholarship opportunities for that. So things are happening all the time and we're able to actually get those emails into the inbox of young people. But then also in our industry, you've got to think, there's 35 different facets of the industry. Not everyone sits at an email all day, every day. Some people are driving tractors. So you've got to be a little bit creative of how we, get the information into the right hands. So we've got WhatsApp groups for different states and we've also got social media as well. And then hopefully, podcasts like this for people that are driving from, restaurant to restaurant selling their wine, or if they're doing, long days in the tractor, they can consume information on many different opportunities, not just email.
You are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you're incredible. And there's just what an amazing initiative. And it's really no doubt to the success of someone like yourself who, really gets behind it, really believes in it. I did see in your CV that you were born on International Women's Day. That is bonkers.
Yeah. Mum planned that well.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit about Hunter EmpowHER.
So this is our second year of Hunter EmpowHER, and it kind of started as you said, International Women's Day was my birthday, and I just really saw an opportunity. You could celebrate in other ways and other regions were celebrating it, and I was a bit like, let's have something here in the Hunter, and it was always my idea to not only bring people together, but also then create some good out of it. So I wanted to, have an auction item for the first year that would then go to support women's education. And it ended up going so well. We raised $6,000. And then I got a call from Jeremy Scarborough who said, hey, Jenna, I heard you did really well. It's probably an idea, just to keep everything above board, but you should probably open up an incorporated association. So after a lot of Googling.
Just something else for you to do.
I was like, it sounds like a good idea if someone's calling you and telling you to do that. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Let's kind of separate and be really transparent. So thanks, Jez. So yeah, we started our incorporated association. We now have a committee of fabulous women that also wanted to jump on board and help. And so our main fundraising event is held around International Women's Day, which just passed on the 8th of March. And this year, so the first year we raised $6,000, which was amazing. And that's all gone out to the community as well. So we've supported, I think it was 6 individuals to do different things across the wine, tourism and hospitality sectors. So this year we had our second lunch and we are so delighted that we actually raised $26,000, which will, I know, which will go out to the community. So that was through some amazing support. We had Joanna Griggs came and was our MC for the second year. So we had a really amazing lineup of speakers. And then, to have support for some live auction items, silent auction items and a raffle ticket, because let's be honest, everyone loves a raffle. Yeah, we were able to generate that amount of money, which just is going to help the community so much. But obviously goes to show that the need is there as well. So we're excited to get that out into the community, and all of us have some ideas about how to make it bigger and better. It's always really nice to come and celebrate, but I always feel like, okay, what's next? How do we continue to build upon this momentum and actually make a difference for individuals in our community? So yeah, I'm really, really proud of it.
Incredible. I tell you what, Cessnock, the Hunter, they were lucky when you moved up and you chose a house there. I tell you what, incredible. Jenna, I'd love to know a little bit more about you and what you like to drink. So if you had 3 drinks for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Oh, okay. Well, they're going to be very specific. The first wine I had, which absolutely blew my mind, and every time I went back to it, it got better and better, and I never had a wine like that before, and I'll be chasing that high, and that was a 2019 Yering Light Dry Red. Just every moment I took into that wine just really blew my mind. So yeah, it's sold out. I can never get my hands on a bottle again, but one day I'll hopefully recreate that moment. The second...
Oh, Crowley, come on. Help Jenna out.
I know. And it was 2019 specifically. That was the vintage. The second wine, which I love rosé. There's wines for drinking, there's wines for thinking, and I love rosé. But watching some of my best friends who have their own wine label, we had a tank sample of their 2026 Thayer Wines rosé on Easter Sunday. But just to see the culmination of all of their hard work, they both have full-time jobs, and this is their side hustle that they're trying to make into their main hustle. To see the hard work, the dedication, every single decision in that finished wine, and it was delicious. I can't wait for them to get it out to market. So I'll be drinking that wine forever.
Oh, she's gatekeeping. She's not even going to tell us. That's outrageous.
No, so it's by Alana and Michael Wells. So they're here in the Hunter as well. They already have a Chardonnay and a Shiraz, and the rosé, after going to hand sell their product at many markets, was like, this is what we need to do next. And it was so beautiful, like lots of watermelon, beautiful colour, and her label looks amazing. So I'm really, really proud of them. And yeah, just to see all of the work that really goes into it. And I think what's really important as well, Alana and Michael aren't just thinking about their own brands, they're also thinking about other young brands. So they're part of Valley Rising, which has got some young producers. But Alana's also trying to actively work with New South Wales government to change some of the legislation around primary producer licensing. Because unless you have a vineyard and you own a vineyard, it can be really challenging to get, event-based pop-ups and licensing around that. And let's be honest, owning a vineyard is not like a financial opportunity for everyone.
Everybody wants to do that as well. Absolutely.
Exactly. So Alana and Michael aren't only thinking about their own experience in this industry, they're trying to actively create a different, better industry for all. So I think that, I like to drink wines like made by people like that.
Yeah, so meaningful. I love that. Sometimes it is just like, oh my God, the kids are in bed, just give me anything liquid. And sometimes it really is incredibly moving when you have a bottle of something that's, like you said, it's the culmination of so much hard work and so much forethought. and it's joyous to drink, but it means so much more as well. That's awesome.
100%. And then
number 3.
Of course, okay, this is going to be a bit broader, but Hunter Valley Semillon, obviously I can't, this community, and it could be from any producer in the Hunter. It could be young, it could be old, but it is an iconic wine of the world. And the Hunter Valley is celebrating 200 years of grape growing and winemaking in 2028. So we're so proud of that. And we'll be celebrating, we've already started talking about how we're going to celebrate that. But yeah, it's just amazing to be Australia's oldest continuing wine and grape growing region. So any Hunter Valley Semillon.
I love that. I mean, I feel the same way about Semillon, what a drink, but 200 years, incredible. And, like I said, they are so lucky to have you. But in general, I think the industry is lucky to have you because you could be doing this for many brands or different products around the world. And thank goodness that you got a taste for wine. Jenna, you are incredible. Hats off to you for so many things that you do and how much you give back. But the most important thing is you can tell that you absolutely adore it, that you believe in it. It comes very naturally to you when you speak about things, and you're just infectious in your personality as well. Anytime you're around with your big smile, you make everybody else feel warm and happy around you, and it's just such a joy.
Oh, that's so kind.
It's so gorgeous.
So lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure. I'm sure that you have a million emails and a bunch of other things you got to get to. So thank you for spending some time with me today.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care and cheers to you. I hope we get to have a drink soon, maybe a glass of rosé.
Yes.
This is Over a Glass. I'm Shanteh Wale. Stay tuned for more stories from the world of wine and drinks. Listen in every Thursday on your podcast app. Follow us on Instagram at overaglasspod and contact us at overaglass@deepintheweeds.com.au.